Me and you in the truck. But he'll be there till gone 6 at this place. Yeah. Yeah, me alright.
Are you fine, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well, all considering. Injuries were quite nasty, as most people have seen, but recovery, in all fairness, is going pretty well. I'm quite happy with how it's going. I'm not in no rush to speed the injuries up any more than what they already are, if that makes sense. I'm just going to let sort of time do its course and yeah, just sitting tight and doing everything possible to help the recovery. It's been feeling difficult not being able to ride because although I've had some injuries in the past, this is probably one of the worst injuries I have, and probably going to be the most amount of time that I've been off a bike, which is difficult when you've been doing it for 20 years, and it's something that I do every weekend, whether it's at the British superbikes or whether it's on the pit bikes at B&B. So when it's taken away from you, it's quite a shock to the system. The crash was a funny one really, because I feel that due to the weekend that we was having, we was put in the position that I am now almost, and in all honesty, I feel that I shouldn't have been in that position, as in we was mid-pack, somewhere that I didn't feel like I would be, but due to the circumstances we was on that weekend, and when you are in that position, you're riding with riders that you generally not used to riding with. So, you know, I remember most of the crash. I remember entering the last corner, and as you go through the chicane, and Danny Kent missed the gear, and I remember all that, and I knew the second he missed that gear that I was in a place where I couldn't get out to avoid the accident. And from my experience, it's daft. Sometimes you learn how to crash. And I knew, with it being lap 1, that I was in trouble, because I knew that there'll be a number of riders behind me. So I did my best to try and avoid or try and keep myself in a safe place, but clearly it didn't quite happen. It was, you know, it's not a nice position for the riders behind me to be in, nor myself. So, you know, I don't put anybody to blame, but it was difficult to come out of it unscathed. However, I do feel I'm lucky with the injuries that I've got, considering. So the injuries I sustained was, from the start, was a left fracture of the left tib, which has been quite a simple fix. It's just been an air boot, something that I can remove at night when I'm sleeping. But the major injury was the right leg, which was tib and fib in 2 or 3 places. The bone came out the skin through the levers, so as you can imagine, I was wide awake when it happened, and I remember sort of moving my foot back into place because I knew it was sort of facing the wrong way, which wasn't a pretty sight. And you know, I knew lying at the side of the track that the season was over pretty much straight away. And at that point, rather than panicking, I just sort of mentally prepared myself for recovery, and for, you know, you're in a position where it's out of your hands. It's down to the doctors and the nurses, you know, to fix you from that point on. And it's difficult to keep calm, but the drugs help. As you can imagine, the drugs helped quite a lot. And, you know, there was a number of conversations after leaving the circuit and getting to the hospital. It's quite fortunate that it was close to QMC, which are specialised in leg injuries. I was at Donington Park, so, you know, at that point I just had to agree to what was going to happen to me, and, you know, a number of procedures afterwards of operations, and that's why I say I feel I'm quite lucky, because, you know, in a short space of time I feel I'm making a quick recovery, and I'm on the progress. I'm on the mend, which is, if you think about it, we're 4 or 5 weeks down the line. I'm not in a bad place, considering. Yeah, so I think, you know, there is massive highs and lows in racing. Some people don't always see them, and when it affects them really bad. But for myself, I feel Last year I was on the crest of a wave, and in all honesty, I don't think I could have put a foot wrong. You know, we was British champion and Superstock 1000. I went to New Zealand, won that championship, and pretty much every time I threw my leg over the bike, we was in contention, which is something that, as a rider, when you get to that stage, there's no better feeling, and and that is the pinnacle of racing for me, whether it's Superstock 1000, British Superbike or World Superbike. But that aside, when you get injured like I have done now, the lows are part of it. They really are part of racing. And whether it's a big crash like I had at round 1 of the championship, or whether it's a wrist break at round 4 or 5, you're still put in a position where you're doing something you love and you're succeeding, to then have an injury and it put you on a massive step back. And it's how you recover from that step back, I believe, is sort of what makes you as a racer. Now, I said it before, I've been racing 20 years and I've had injuries. Some have been big, some have been not so big, some have been niggly ones, and some you can ride through. I'm fully aware that the injury I've got at the moment is, for me, is something that time has got to take its course, and as each day goes by, I come a bit more positive. So it's like trying to get back on that wave, if you like, of where I was to where I am, and each day I get a little bit closer coming back to that point, which, as we all know, like, motorcycle racing is a drug, and it's an addiction, and we love it, but also there is the dramas that we're in now, and it's a difficult one, and I think maybe not all riders will experience it, but some riders are going to go through some sort of injury and it's going to set them back in their way. So for me, it's how you come back from that setback. The desire to come back, I don't think will ever go away, because it's all I've ever known. And one thing I've always said to myself is I'll only come back when I am fully fit and I'm in a position to be where I was, before. It's a difficult one to ask, as far as, can I say I can compete for a British Championship again? In my eyes, yes, I can. But I'm under no illusion that the accident that I've had could affect me in different ways. I'm not getting. I'm in a position where I perhaps never have been before, because there is obviously a lot more to life than racing, which as a young age you don't really understand, but as you get older, admittedly, with circumstances change. I just need to make sure that everything's secure and that financially I'm in the right place, and then if I feel it's right to come back and I've got the team around me, which I have at the moment with Bavens BMW, then there's no reason not to come back and challenge for a championship again. This question is a funny one, because more and more recently I've been asked this question, a lot of it from yourself sometimes, from the lads in the BMB paddock, because I guess the input that we're putting back into young talent sort of brings this question up. And admittedly, I want to give something back to racing, and I feel that I already am giving something back, especially in the British Mini Bike Championship. I try not to give too much away in the BSB paddock, because albeit I'm there to fight for a championship, so I don't want to give everything away just yet. But I do hope there's a time when I can be alongside a talented superbike rider, mentioning no names, and I can be there to help, assist, not teach them how to ride, because it's impossible to teach somebody at that level to ride, but just be there as an assistance and help the situation that you sometimes get in a road race weekend. Yeah, I guess it's something that I wouldn't say I've not thought about, because I guess I have. Just because I see people that succeed in the paddock, and I know that these people have been racers in the past. And in my in my opinion, those people are the ones with the best knowledge. So as far as being a crew chief is concerned, it's a difficult task for a crew chief to get out of what a rider needs from his bike. But if he's been in the position that the rider has been in, say for instance Alton Park over at Hilltop, and the bike's doing a certain thing, as a rider you know what that is. If you've not been in that position, it's hard to put yourself in it mentally. So I always feel that a crew chief or somebody of that role works well with a young talented rider, because the rider gives them information, and it's how you translate that to make the bike set up correctly. We all can't watch in every corner, every occasion. So if you that corner, or you've been through that corner, it certainly helps. The running the team that's a difficult one, because I'm good friends with team owners such like, and I know the stresses that they go through to get that team on that grid each year, whether it be hospitality, whether it be the 2 bikes that they're running, whether it be the Arctic truck that they've got to get there. It's a massive, massive ask, and I think it's a different passion to be a team owner rather than a team worker, because I feel that the team owners, the successful ones, it's grown into them. They've had it from a young age, and sometimes it's been passed down from dads or from somewhere in the family, and the best teams in the paddock are the ones that have been there the longest. And for me, that's something that you don't just achieve in 1 year. I've seen it time and time again where a new team will come into the paddock, and they will be this big flash truck with these 2 bikes, and they will find the right riders, and within a year or 2 they've disappeared and you no longer see them. And for me, that's not what this sport's about. If you go in that paddock and year on year out you see the same teams and the same mechanics, to me that's what team is all about, not just the big flash trucks. So for sure, let's say, I won't say crew chief role, but that whole being there alongside somebody, I could definitely see myself doing that. But you've got to be careful that you don't hinder that rider, because sometimes me being there might not be the best thing for that rider, whoever it may be. So it's a difficult place to put yourself, but all you can do is offer advice as and when. And I feel if somebody said to me that's not the right thing to do, then I'd hold my hand up and say, well, let's not do it. But on the other hand, if I could give one bit of information that helps the situation, then that's one bit more information that they didn't have in the first place. So, it's definitely something I've not looked at, but you more and more think about, because people have helped me in the past, and I appreciate everything they've done for me. And that's only because they've had experience, and they're now in a different role of their life or their career where they can offer experience rather than take it away from me. So, yeah, it's something maybe I need to consider. The big question, if I had £1 for every time someone asked me this in the past 3 weeks, I'd be a rich man at the minute, is when am I coming back? And the season's short. In my opinion, there's no point in rushing back because of the situation that COVID has put us in. Therefore, the season's short, and it's pretty much over with before it's even started. One thing I did do in 14 when I broke my arm quite bad, I could have come back for the last couple of rounds, but I felt it wasn't the right thing to do. I'd already put myself in a secure position for 15 with the team I was riding for. So I took it for myself just to call it quits for that year. I went to Spain in November, where we all know the weather's slightly better in England. And I would say, did some riding behind closed doors, if you like, and just that I've got in place for this year. Again, come November time, I feel I'll be in a position to ride a bike again. And I will do the same way. I'll go away, I'll do some riding, I'll weigh up the options if you like. Obviously keep in close contact with my team, David's BMW. and see where we are really. So, you know, I'm in no rush to get back on my bike and risk injury. I'm in no rush to get back on the pit bike, even though I love it. You know, it's so hard to go to the pit bike track like I was with yourself, you know, last Thursday and sit there watching, because all I've ever known is ride around. But on the same hand, I know when it's right, you know, when the time's right, I'll be back, you know, and we'll be hopefully having a beer, laughing about the position that we're in now. That's the way I see things. So, yeah, I don't want to put a date on anything. I just want to do it when it's right.
Spend your time in smoky rooms where good old women with cheap perfume say it never happens for people like us, you know. Nothing ever happened on its own. And while the toilet smells of desperation, the streets soul echo of aggravation. You wonder why you can't get no sleep when you've got nothing to do and you've had nothing to eat. Your life slipping and sliding right out of view, and there's absolutely nothing that you can do. Well, we'll live and die in these towns. Don't let it drag you down, don't let it drag you down now. We'll live and die in these towns. Don't let it drag you down, don't let it drag you down now. Dirty dishes from a TV mill, the wind cold from the wind through a smashed up.
I don't think it's sunk in at all yet, to be honest. I spoke to someone earlier about it and they asked the same thing, and I said to them, I think it's probably going to be till the end of the year really. When you're sat at home and you can't go racing for 6 months, that you sit down and think, hold on a minute, I won 2 races Sunday in September. So no, it's definitely not sunk in. I just want to carry on where I left off really and keep getting them good results and see where we end up in the next 6 weeks. The emotions was like 4 different types in 50 seconds. It was very weird, but as soon as I crossed the line, I was a bit gobsmacked personally. But then once I realised it was real, I went mental, screaming in my helmet, etc. And then once I got all that out of the way, you start thinking about all the bad years that you've had and the stuff that didn't go right and stuff that made you upset and stuff that didn't make you want to race anymore. And then that made me cry really, because obviously from that to where I was on that Sunday was a massive difference. And then the last part of the lap was just getting back to the team really, and to see Steve and Stuart and my mum and dad, just to like see the faces really, and it was a nice feeling seeing that they've achieved probably what they wanted to out of supporting me. So yeah, I know the lap takes only 52 seconds or whatever it is to get round, but that lap felt about 4 minutes long with all the emotions, so very strange. The first race that I won, obviously I had someone in front of me for 27 laps, and I knew I had more pace than them with 3 laps to go, but once I got through I just basically tried to ride the wheels off it for 3 laps. I didn't look at my pit board, so I didn't have a clue that I was going to win really until I got over the line. So the second race was a little bit different, because obviously I led from start to finish, so I could look at my pit board and see what was going on. But the first race I won, yeah, that was didn't really know what was going on the last 3 laps. I just tried my best. I thought if you can't do 3 fast laps now and you've already done 27, then you shouldn't be doing it. So I mean, me sat at home, yeah, I know I can, because I've done it. I've got a chance at a few races to beat them, and I know I can. But being realistic, obviously coming to Owen Park this weekend coming up, completely different track to Silverstone. Bike behaves differently. The track's completely different. It's half the size in width, and a lot of things going on. It's a lot harder to set up. So I'm not expecting to do the same at Silverstone, but I'm still expecting to be at least as fast as the people that I've just been beating at Silverstone, and set myself a goal really at a couple of top 6 finishes on Sunday. Should be a good weekend. In my own goals, I'm overachieving, if you know what I mean. I've done way more than what I thought I would in my first year, and basically just it's hard to understand, but I'm only 8 points off second, so you got to take it step by step. I'm not thinking about winning, but I'm obviously thinking I'm only 8 points off second, so if you can beat them in a few races at Alton Park, you could end up second. But at the same time there's a lot of people that are close. Be a bit of a strange one, I think, at Alton Park, with it being such a difficult track, and some riders really excel there and some don't. But I think coming to the last 2 rounds at Brands and Donington, it'll soon show who's going to be the title contenders, I think. I just want a good. I mean, last couple of years I've had a good year, and then I've not really done anything for 2 years after, and I think that's due to swapping about, riding different bikes, not having a good structure. But at the minute I feel like if I can ride the bike I'm riding now for the next few years, it'll be a no-brainer, as long as everything's good. And it's a good structure at the minute, as you see. I'm very confident, and it's weird really, I feel like I've been doing it for 3 years, the structure I feel like I'm in and the confidence I've got. So I only think if I stay where I am and keep doing what I'm doing, ride the same bike, same people around me, I think, obviously I've not got a 5-year plan, but I want to be trying to at least fight for the championship in my 3rd year in the class. My dad didn't really say it, he just gave me a hug for about 15 seconds, what he normally does, sorry. Obviously meant a lot to him. He's done a lot for the last 16 years of racing. Didn't really understand how much he actually did for me until I was about 20, but now I do. You respect what he does, and he still turns up every weekend, through the bad weekends and the good. And yeah, it meant a lot to him. I seen after, even my mum and dad, obviously they've been through a lot for the last 4 or 5 years, spending money themselves to make me go racing and trying very hard to get sponsored at the same time. But I think the faces looked like it had repaid him, if you know what I mean. So just got to do quite a few more of that, and hopefully I know my mum wants a new kitchen, so if I win some more races I can buy her a kitchen.
At the time I was in the box trying to psych myself up for the race that was happening in about 20 minutes time, and yeah, unfortunately I seen that he ran into the back of someone, someone made a mistake or did something wrong, and he unfortunately ran into the back of him. And first thing I thought, actually, which is not nice, that he was going to get run over his head, because he was in the perfect position to do so, so I didn't look. And yeah, I know it's rubbish for Coops the way that he is right now, but me personally, from what I seen for the first couple of seconds, I expected a lot worse. So me personally, I wasn't too bothered about going out on my bike after, because I knew that it was only a bone. I know it sounds stupid and weird, but yeah, it was a relief that he was all right and he could actually move and do normal stuff in his own ways, if you know what I mean. So at least he was with it. And yeah, also I don't think I'd be able to go out on my bike. I had to have a little bit of a word with the team boss Steve. He sorted me out a little bit, make sure I was all right, and yeah, went out and raced after.
It's funny because I watch every session since my injury. You know, live timing was so good now on internet that you can get pretty much every session up and every sector, and you know, I know exactly where he is on track on a Friday, on a Saturday, and come Sunday, you know, he had the podium on the Saturday, and come Sunday, it was quite funny really, because it was in that second race, which was the first race of Sunday, and you know, I was there with him, as daft as it sounds, you know, and I knew he was following Brooks, who, you know, somebody who I've raced in the past, and I know he's such a calm rider that it puts you in a state where you're actually quite relaxed in your riding, and I could see that Kyle was in that position. You know, I hate to say it, but I knew exactly what he was going to do, because I knew how much pace he had, and when he went with 3 or 4 laps to go for the lead, I knew that was it. I knew he had the win, and I said to my fiance, I was like, he's going to win this, and he did exactly as I thought he would, and it was emotional for me, because he's my mate more than anything. I know what he's been through, like he spoke about in the past, and I've always said, give him the bike and the team and he'll deliver the goods, which he's done in the past. You know, it's not just this year he's delivered the goods, it's the Moto 2 last year, you know, the World Supersport ride when he was on the 600, and for it all to come together in the best domestic championship in the world against some of the best riders in the world, and to do it in such a style, you know, I was buzzing for him. You know, last year we were sharing a caravan together, so you know, it's not the first time he's won a race, but this was quite a special time because normally we're bouncing it back off each other, you know, we're there together and, you know, we're in the weekend together, but this time I was sat at home, he was there on the racetrack with the team, and I was so happy because I knew he could do it, and, you know, that's never ever doubted me for 1 second. But, like, I'm not gonna lie to you, emotionally it affected me quite a bit because it wasn't until he did his interview, you know, and I could see it in his eyes, you know, because we've all got to wear these stupid masks, but I could see it in his eyes how much it meant to him. I think everybody could see that. And, you know, when, you know, mentioned myself, and it was at that point, like, I realised that I wasn't there for him when I have been in the past, and there was nothing I could do apart from send a text message, and I sent the text message straight away, and I knew that he'd probably had 1,000 other text messages to get through before he perhaps even seen mine, but I had to do it, you know. I sent that message before we finished that interview on TV, and that's how much it meant to me. So I can't imagine how much it meant to Kyle. So yeah, I was there every step of the way on that Sunday, and, you know, for him to do that in race 1 and race 2 was, you know, it was top shelf stuff for me. It was to lead a BSB race, you know, which I've done, you know, I've been in that position, but to lead it in that style, I don't believe I've done. To pull away the way he did and set a lap record in that company is mind blowing. I think everybody's seen that at the weekend, and I think everybody's took note of it, which for me is what this is about.
I think I've obviously watched Coops on telly when I wanted to race at BSB a lot. When I was 10, 11, that's what you watch on telly on a Sunday, including MotoGP, and I'd seen his name crop up a few times. And yeah, when I was at the Darley Moor, I think it Stars at Darley, I won my race, which Coops said earlier is the kids' race, and Coops won the big boy race where he earned all them pennies, and yeah, we had a nice picture, which you'll probably see. Whatever you're putting it on, we'll send that to you. But yeah, that was where it started. But after that, I think it was due to that pit biking a few years ago. We met each other through that and started going there a lot, and then become what we are now, and now climaxing to sharing a caravan together.
2006, when I was Kyle's age, I was doing European superstock, and it was very, very difficult. You know, I was on a underpowered bike in a championship where it was run by Italians riding Italian bikes and all that, and there wasn't the social media back then that there is now, so it was very difficult for me to be showcasing myself. So I didn't have the opportunity to ride at the level that Kyle's at, and I don't begrudge that in any way because I learnt a lot, but for sure it'd be nice to be in a position at 23 years old to be competing in the best domestic championship in the world, rather than on a European scene where in hindsight no one really sees you. So it was very difficult, but, you know, I don't regret anything, but you know, I am envious, I guess, of the position he's in, but he's earned it, so it's good.
I'd say I'd start learning how to play pool, but I've only been doing that for the past 6 years, so probably just carry on playing pool. But no, when I'm his age, obviously I've got goals, and I want to be, now I'm in this championship, I want to be champion of it. Hopefully not just one time, but yeah, we'll soon find out in the next, how many years is it, 14?
Scary to think of it. One attribute that's still off Kyle, I feel I'm a naturally talented rider, but what he can produce without trying is, for me, is mind-blowing. Not everybody sees that because they don't know Kyle behind closed doors, but I do. And when I see him put that talent into, you know, what he can do, it amazes me, and I know what it takes for him to be there. So and that for me is, I'd love to have that, because I feel I don't have to work extra hard, but I do have to work in a different way to get to what I want to achieve. Whereas for Kyle, it just comes unbelievably natural, and you can't buy that, and that's amazing.
So obviously you only told me about this question about 3 minutes ago, so I've been thinking. Luckily I asked Coops first, but one attribute I'd probably take off Coops is, obviously, he's a lot older than me, not being saying it like that, but his mental take towards racing, and like the words he's been talking about his injury, I feel like at the minute he would come back from that a lot faster than what I would, and I think that's just experience. But I think, yeah, the mental stage Coops is in, even at the age he is, he's very confident he can come back and if not win in his first year, which is a very nice thing to have, and it's very nice to have a friend like that, knowing that you can bounce off that, and knowing if something happens to me I can do exactly the same.
I can't measure your dick size, can I?
What if we find out?
We're still having the size of his back.
Is that it?
Question.
So there's not actually a lot of things that annoy me about Coots, but there's one thing when he brushes his teeth. Just as he's about to finish, when the timer goes off after about 2 minutes, he makes the most annoyingest noise I've ever witnessed. And he does it about 3 times a day because he brushes it after a meal as well, so that's probably the most annoying thing.
That annoys Danielle as well, I've got to put that in there. Easy question for me. Kyle, I feel he needs continuity, something that when he's had in the past has proven that he can win races, and if he can do that, if he can be in a position to do that, then I think the success will speak for itself.
So I think obviously Coops has done a lot of things that when I was didn't even know his name or know him as a person, he'd done good 12-13 years of riding before I'd even had a picture with him or anything. So, but like you said, he's done a lot of things. He'd have loved to have been where I was at 23. So I think a lot of things could have gone a lot differently for him, but sometimes, obviously when I was 10, 11, he might not have had the opportunities then, but when I've become 20, I've had the opportunities. But if he stopped now due to injury or didn't want to do it again, obviously he's done a lot of things, a lot of championships, and he's done very well in most of them, if not all of them. And yeah, I think one of them that topped it off for me was when he went to the Northwest. Pretty random for me, but he wanted to do it. I didn't understand before when I first met him that he wanted to go and do a road race, but kind of backed him all the way and watched it all, and yeah, quite proud when he did it.
From a TV mill that went cold from the wind through a smashed up window. You can't go out if anybody calls you, cause you can't have a bath when there's no hot water, and your friends are out on the town again, and you ask yourself if it'll ever end. And it's all too much for your head to take, just a matter of time before you break. Well, we'll live and die. We'll live and die in these towns. Don't let it drag you down, don't let it drag you down now. We'll live and die in these towns. Don't let it drag you down, don't let it drag you down now.